I just want to start off by saying thank you. I was having a personal moment with my ancestors there for a minute. You will forgive me if I get emotional. It is a very special kind of moment for us here. And so we just want to thank you all for being here first and foremost. And I say greetings to you all from AAAD students, faculty, board members, and our partners. It is my honor to welcome you on our behalf. I am Bessie Mohonja, and Molly Godfrey and I are privileged, really, really privileged to serve as directors of the AAAD Studies Center. With our accomplices, co-conspirators and partners at JMU and across the globe, we welcome you to this historic moment, this historic event. It only took 4 decades, but we say, Karibuni sana, Akwaba. The AAAD family would like to recognize here today Doctors Jackie Walker, Osuansa David, and Joanne Gabin for the beginnings and sustaining of the dream since 1981, when the minor was founded. We recognize past coordinators of the minor, Drs. Lamont King and Dr. Aduronke Adesanya, for carrying the dream forward. We recognize Dean Robert Aguirre, Associate Provost David Osuansa, and Provost Heather Coltman for supporting our dream to receive this center status. We had been doing the work of a center for years. JMU, we just want to say you got this one right. You got it right this time. Dr. Molly Godfrey will offer more acknowledgements later in the program. For now, we call on you to remember those on whose shoulders we stand, those who did not get to have this moment we do, those whose legacy we must honor by doing better, by always creating space for all people and all ideas, by continuing to support this center and others like it. We are just the beginning. Most of all, we want to celebrate AAAD faculty who carried this dream for decades on pure passion and conviction. And to our students, you are the best part of us. For crafting this event, we thank University Communications and Marketing, Sophia Samata, Keith Miller, Joanne Gabin, Lauren Aline, Sonia Baker, Mike Davis, Sydney Moon, Megan Medeiros, Arden Tennyson, Case Watkins, Angela Carter, and all our speakers and performers. Let us now move on and hear them. For now, I call you all in with the sound of my people, our people, as we get into this celebration. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here today. It's truly my honor to say a few words as we formally launch the African, African American, and Diaspora Studies Center. AAAD is a wonderful representation of what we mean when we say that JMU is committed to being the national model for the engaged university. AAAD embodies our mission and vision in a myriad of ways. First, they faithfully seek out interdisciplinary relationships. Looking at the faculty listed on the website, you can see how adept they are at building bridges across and throughout JMU. Bringing together over 65 individuals from every college on campus is a tremendous model for those who help to build a vibrant and responsive campus community. In addition to the ways that they connect faculty across campus, they also connect students to one another, to courses that expand the way they view the world, and to opportunities that are truly life-changing. We hear often from students associated with AAAD about how impactful this program has been on how they see the world. We also know that this work is critically important at this juncture in history. More than ever, we must all learn about how we are all interconnected and develop a deeper knowledge and appreciation of the contributions of many different cultures and backgrounds that make up the rich, diverse tapestry of our country and world. To do this essential work, AAAD is constantly seeking out new ways to engage students. In addition to over 75 classes offered, they also support graduate certification, study abroad programs, student publications, and internships, both domestically and internationally. Through these efforts, AAAD is meeting students where they are and helping them grow as students and scholars. AAAD's mission is bigger than just our campus. Just a few weeks ago, AAAD hosted their 11th annual Interdisciplinary Conference. Even in the midst of an ongoing pandemic, the number of panels featuring partners from around the country and around the globe was truly impressive. The ability to find ways to provide meaningful opportunities for this kind of intellectual engagement in a virtual environment is greatly appreciated, and the effort put forth by AAAD and all of their partners is a model that we can all learn from. Finally, I want to thank Dr. Molly Godfrey and Dr. Bessie Muhanja for their leadership of AAAD. As coordinators of this program, they've taken AAAD to new heights, and I'm excited to see how they move the center forward in the future. My thanks to them and to all of you who are part of AAAD for your service to the university and community.
The African American, and Diaspora Studies Center, known as the AAAD Studies Center, is a hub that brings together people, ideas, and activities related to Black Studies at JMU. The mission of the center is to serve students and faculty who have an academic interest in the peoples, cultures, and institutions of Africa and the African diaspora. But the center has so many initiatives and programs that its influence really spreads throughout the university and affects everything we do. It affects all the areas of teaching and research and service. So in teaching, for example, the center coordinates an undergraduate minor, which features more than 65 members of the faculty, offering more than 75 unique courses in everything from the arts to business to science and technology, and study abroad programs as well. In the area of research, the center supports conferences, workshops, fellowships, and international partnerships, including the annual conference, the African American, and Diaspora Studies Conference, which is now in its 11th year, and highlights Black history, scholarship, creativity, and activism. In the area of service, the AAAD Studies Center supports JMU in its efforts to recruit and retain students and faculty of color, and also facilitates partnerships with Black faculty, staff, student, and community organizations. Essentially, the AAAD Studies Center is a focal point that brings together the work of Black studies at JMU, much of which has been going on for years, but has often lacked visibility. And with the right support, the center can increase the visibility and the impact of its many partnerships, programs, and initiatives. And with enough support, it can also create new programs, new community partnerships, internships, scholarships for students, and research fellowships are all, possibilities that we can achieve if we have the right support. And this kind of support will enable the center to help JMU to meet its very urgent mission of improving diversity, equity, and inclusion. It will also help the university to meet the expectations of an R2 university at the cutting edge of research and teaching. And a thriving and well-supported AAAD Studies Center will ensure that the many innovations and programs in these many different areas across the university that are that grow out of the Black Studies tradition, that these programs and initiatives will remain and will be part of the JMU experience for years to come.
Hello, I'm Lauren Elaine, Assistant Director of the Furious Flower Poetry Center and an Associate Professor of English at James Madison University. I'm so pleased to be part of the celebration of the charter for the AAAD Center here on campus. This moment marks the continuation of the work of this institution and the people that comprise it to sound and answer the call for a more just and equitable society. The poem I'm going to share with you is a contemplation on the moments we might feel frustrated that things aren't moving fast enough or that we're not doing enough. And we will always have those moments, and we should. But ultimately, the poem commits the poet, that's me, to bringing my gifts to the ongoing fight for intersectional justice. I know that this AAAD Center will be a part of that work, and I am so proud to be a part of that movement. Ode to my flawed resistance. Some days I don't know what to do with my hands, brown and capable, strong and culpable. I can see the phantom blood drowning them. Even as I make fisted sons of them, even as I hoist them, palms assail on the mirrored L's of my arms around yet another protest I stand in the back of. Hands up, don't shoot. Even as they scroll past the latest headline of another scared cop executing a Black mother's child, another city falling to its knees in Syria, another woman's reputation shattering under the scrutiny of her hashtag, another criminal sworn into office. Still, even now, in this midnight, my pulse hammering my wrist like a high-speed car chase, this poem trembles into being against the barbed wire injustices of borders and bullets and ballots, against the snarl of history, its constant cut, against my own contentments, the ease of my almost American life with its seductions of late night outrage and daytime indifference. My brown birds take wing, buffet across notebook and key. How they sound their urgent anthem. See, 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 see. How they labor, lancing the page's resolute blankness, word by word by word by word, holding the only line they know. Thank you, and congratulations, AAAD.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Heather Coltman, and as Provost at JMU, it's my great honor to celebrate the center's opening with its esteemed directors, Bessie Mohonja, Molly Godfrey, and the entire African American, and Diaspora Studies Collective. The transition from a program to a center is more than a name change or a shift to organizational structure. It signifies a momentous transformation, indicative of an interdisciplinary depth and breadth of AAAD that enriches academic affairs and the larger James Madison community. It recognizes as well the substantial support the university can offer in return. While I know some people might bristle at the capitalistic implications of officially launching the AAAD Center on JMU's Giving Day, I see it as a sign of good faith. We want this new center to thrive, to serve and be served to the fullest extent. That requires resources. While AAAD benefits from one of the richest networks of love and volunteer labor I have had the pleasure of working with, we can't deny the value of sustainable funding and a bigger public profile. By making AAAD a centerpiece of today's campaign, the university signals to donors that Black minds, Black research, Black faculty, Black staff, and Black students, and Black lives matter. The past year has amplified this truth. If we want to achieve anything close to inclusive excellence, JMU's anti-racist and anti-discrimination work must be urgent, proactive, and highly visible. This is where the African American, and Diaspora Studies Center has made and will continue to make a difference. Academia, particularly at predominantly white institutions, has historically disenfranchised Black and brown voices, creating an ivory tower that's painfully elitist and exclusionary to all of our detriment. In prioritizing AAAD, in making it a locus of change, we can build on the hard-earned dialogues and lessons from 2020. This momentum is vital. It calls to mind activist librarian Audre Lorde's remarks at the 1979 Second Sex Conference. Though she was speaking specifically about women, I think her sentiments can be broadly applied to JMU's diverse ecosystem. Audre Lorde said, "We have been taught either to ignore our differences or to view them as causes for separation and suspicion rather than as forces for change. Without community, there is no liberation, only the most vulnerable and temporary armistice between an individual and her oppression. But community must not mean a shedding of our differences, nor the pathetic pretense that these differences do not exist. Those of us who stand outside the circle of this society's definition of acceptable know that survival is not an academic skill. It is learning how to stand alone, unpopular and sometimes reviled, and how to make common cause with those identified as outside the structures in order to define and seek a world in which we all can flourish. It is learning how to take our differences and make them strengths." The African American, and Diaspora Studies Center is the embodiment of Audre Lorde's vision and the manifestation of the years of work by our own communities. As we open the center today, our beautiful differences are made into the truest of strengths, made all the more powerful because JMU now has a nexus for authentic communication, scholarship, and community for all of our Black and brown students, faculty, and staff. And on that note, I officially declare the center open and flourishing. Thank you all for being here.
AAAD, or Black Studies, what is it? Why is it important?
Black Studies allows us to see the country and the world from a perspective that is complete. It will help us to understand the current division and strife in our country and put that into historical perspective.
I can pretty much sum it up in one word, and that's understanding. Really. Because until we understand where we as a people come from, the journey that we had to make both forcefully and sometimes voluntarily, until we understand what depth we had to go through in order to become the civilization in the world that we live in today, you will never get it. You will never get it. That's why this program is so important, because it is understanding.
Black Studies, or AAAD studies, allow us to see and comprehend the world around us more clearly.
When I think about that, I'm thinking about the importance of our lost culture, which is our identities and our history. So it's important that we understand and that we find, or at least can capture, what our history is about and what our culture is about.
It takes historical, scientific, cultural, and social narratives that have historically excluded and oppressed Black people and instead centers their voices.
Black in AAAD studies is conversations about the African diaspora, its history, and its contributions to the global space.
These experiences, of course, transcend a single narrative and extend beyond what one discipline can encompass. So I see this center as a foremost expression of the diversity and multidisciplinary excellence to which this moment in history is calling.
In its broadest terms, AAAD Studies explores all of those places and spaces across the world, physical, cultural, social, economic, political, that have been shaped by people of African descent.
I see AAAD as a direct step towards reframing the narrative of the Eurocentric point of view to representing more of a holistic and decolonized point of view, where I see Black Studies doing this by highlighting the contributions, achievements, and impacts of those from the African diaspora.
To me, Black Studies is an interdisciplinary response to the Eurocentrism that pervades our society. It's important to me specifically because it helps to identify and therefore helps me to combat racism at every level in its various manifestations. Thanks.
But your heart so never paid, and you think that This has been a wonderful presentation, and I almost got up to dance to such a wonderful music from Nigeria. My presentation will be on the history of the AAAD program. My name is David Owusu Ansah. I am Associate Provost for Diversity and a professor in the History Department. I've been at James Madison University since 1986. Dr. Jackie Walker has been my senior colleague. She chaired the committee that hired me, and I thank her very, very much, and the committee that got me here. Dr. Michael Gargano, chair of the department at the time I was hired, made everything possible for my first introduction of African history course, not only to be taught, but also to work with my senior colleague, Dr. Dan McFarlane, who had actually introduced African history course at James Madison University, and his colleague, Dr. Martha Codwell, in the art history, who conducted a West Africa experience course over time, supporting me, that is Michael, to make it become what is now the art history position, and a tenured faculty, well-researched scholar, Dr. Adesane, who actually leads that particular course. So mine here is a series of thank yous. Thank you to Dr. Gargano. Thank you to Dr. Phil James, who was chair of art history, for making that interdisciplinary collaboration to take place. Thank you to Dr. Chris Ant, my office mate, who actually made it possible for me to stay. Retention has so many different twists and turns. Chris has played a very, very important role, and I'm glad that as I serve as Associate Provost, he is also Associate Dean in the College of Art and Letters. I thank Dr. Joan Garbin, who was a senior faculty here 2 years before I got here, and I had the opportunity to attend some of her classes to see how wonderful teaching is and has continued to be in terms of engaging students over time. I would like to thank two faculty members who are not at JMU currently, but they also played very good roles. Nakita Imani and Raminga Otsotsi taught courses that actually engage our students. Of course, Dr. Lamont King, my colleague in the history department, and who became my leader and partner in the summer abroad program, our first JMU program in Africa in 1997. It was also through Dr. King that the William M. King Foundation supported us with money so that our underrepresented students, Black students, who might probably want to have summer time to work, to accumulate money for some school expenses, can actually participate in the Ghana program. Now, we have Dr. Bessie Mohinja, whose presence here has really turned the AAAD, which was the Africana Studies program, into something marvelous. She and Dr. Molly Godfrey are leading this particular charge here, and her graduate peers seminar that she brought from SUNY Birmingham here has become the 11 years of our conference. And now the conference is reaching all corners of the world, bringing scholars to James Madison University. Thank you very much, Bessie. And I also want to mention that Jennifer Kaufman, Dr. Jennifer Kaufman's summer abroad in Kenya is over 20 years now, as the Ghana program celebrates its 25th, had it not been the COVID crisis. I will end by thanking Dean Aguirre of the College of Art and Letters and Provost Heather Coltman for their forward thinking and energy to turn this particular minor into a center. And as we bring ourselves to this particular space, I want to mention that those who could not speak can now speak through the literature that our faculty members are putting in this public space to engage our students to create excellence through diversity. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Dina Reed, and I am the mayor of Harrisonburg. Thank you so much for inviting me to share a few words with you today. First, on behalf of the city of Harrisonburg and Harrisonburg City Council, I would like to extend our congratulations to JMU and the new African American, and Diaspora Studies Center. We are so excited for you and proud of the work this center provides related to Black people, Black people's histories, cultures, and socio-political structures. The African American, and Diaspora Studies Center is not just for JMU, but for the community. Because of this center and your mission to teach our stories, we have students working as interns in our historic Black community, supporting research and working with our nonprofits. We have accomplished so much together already, and I am most proud of the recent partnership with the Celebrating Sims exhibit, which commemorates the contributions of our beloved trailblazer, Lucy F. Sims, and Sims School, which was named after her. The exhibit was produced by AAAD faculty members, Dr. Molly Godfrey and Dr. Sean McCarthy, and their students working in close collaboration with community members to tell our Black history. Because of the work of this center partnering with our community, we have now launched our second Sims exhibit at Harrisonburg High School for our students to learn about her life and their history. The importance of this center cannot be said enough. The work you are doing toward diversity, equity, and inclusion, and raising a diverse pool of American life leaders is not only making an impact on our city, but it's making a difference in our world. We are most grateful, and I look forward to our continued working together. Thank you so much for having me.
At its core, AAAD Studies centers Black histories, Black legacies, and Black people. But perhaps more importantly, for the Black students and faculty who are teaching and learning in this environment, they are also centered.
There are a couple different tenets that a lot of organizations and companies and programs laud. Some of those things like diversity and teamwork and togetherness and sort of those cheesy one-liners that we see on the front of new centers. AAAD has impacted my life and work in that those sayings are not just sayings to me. They are actively and genuinely how AAAD taught me to lead my life.
As a sophomore, I've only taken 2 courses in the AAAD minor, but those 2 courses alone have really helped me understand what it means to look at the world from the perspective of those from the African American diaspora. By that I mean just reframing how I approach things and just considering who is more left out in conversations, whether that be those from the Africana diaspora, whether that be queer people, whether that be trans, or just those who are more marginalized. Just learning to approach and just ask questions of why these voices aren't being heard.
I was introduced to the AAAD program for the first time because I was able to take a course for my major at the time called Black Women in Media. And for the first time in my college experience and really in my educational experience, my identities were centered and seen within the curriculum.
AAAD has been my life right from the beginning. So it impacted the content of my teaching as the person who evolved the history of African history teaching at JMU.
through the minor, I have gained amazing friends, I have gained wonderful mentors, and I have gained incredibly important knowledge that I have carried during my time at JMU, will continue to carry during my time at JMU and beyond. I believe that the lessons and knowledge that I have learned through the minor are incredibly important inside of the discipline, but especially important outside of the discipline.
All my life, I've wanted to work for a better world, but that's never been something easily accessible. Sure, there's unpaid nonprofit jobs that I could take, but in a lot of ways I lacked the language to understand what it is I wanted to do. And that's what I've gotten through Black Studies at JMU. I've gotten that language, but not only the language, I've also gotten tools, resources, connections, the kinds of things that make a work for a better world reality. It makes it possible for me to do what I want to do to make the world a better place.
In my teaching, I have turned to so many Black scholars and scholars of Black studies, both here at JMU and around the world, to learn to enhance my pedagogy by embracing social difference and committing to inclusion.
So it's helped my professional work. I've been able to grow as both a scholar and educator as I've been collaborating with and listening and learning from and alongside my colleagues in the AAAD Studies program.
Our efforts to enhance racial equity and advance racial equity aren't only cultural or structural, but perhaps most importantly, they're educational.
Yo no conozco la O. Me dicen que es redondita. Mi madre tan pobrecita que a mí no me la enseñó. Yo no conozco la O. Las letras se van al diablo, porque escribirlas no sé, pero yo cuando las hablo, todas se ponen de pie, todas se ponen de pie. La luna en el océano, con sus rayos argentinos, no dan tanta luz al mundo, no dan tanta luz al mundo como tus ojos divinos, como tus ojos divinos. Quisiera cruzar el río sin que la arena me sienta. Ponerle grillos al diablo. Ponerle grillos al diablo y a la muerte una cadena, y a la muerte una cadena.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robert Aguirre. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Letters, and very privileged to be here with all of you today to celebrate together the opening of the AAAD Studies Center. When I'm not doing administrative work, I like to read literature, which is what I was trained to do as an academic. But the story that sort of leads to that identity goes back actually into my own encounter with Black studies, which began at the tender age of 10. Grew up in California and was in 5th grade, and we had a mid-year switch of a teacher, and a substitute teacher came for the second half of the year, Mr. Tanner. And one of the first things he did was he asked us all to read a book we had never heard of called Man-Child in the Promised Land. It's a very famous book in the history of African American literature, written by Claude Brown. And it's about life in Harlem, a place I had never known or learned about or even heard of. And I remember being absorbed in the pages and the words and the sentences of this book like nothing that I had ever encountered. And so without really knowing it, Mr. Tanner put a spark in my brain. And part of that spark was learning about the richness, the pain, the tragedy, the history, the glory, the creativity that is in African-American literature, culture, and experience. Later on, when I ended up pursuing literature studies, I, of course, read lots of Black writers, Phyllis Wheatley, Harriet Jacobs, Frederick Douglass, many others. But for a long time, these writers remained separate. They were just writers, and eventually they became part of something that I began to understand as African-American literature. But I think my understanding was still immature and naive. And it wasn't really until I moved to Detroit, Michigan, the largest Black city in the country, and started working alongside other Black academics and other scholars of Black studies, that my understanding matured. And I began to understand, really for the first time as an adult, that African-American literature was part of something much larger. It was part of the larger African diasporic tradition that is celebrated in the initials of the AAAD Center. And then I began to understand that what I had learned as an American, as a student in provincial California, and even in a more provincial United States, was really only a fragment of a larger whole. So one of the things I really love about the AAAD Studies Center and its ambition and its profile and its reach is that it works very hard and successfully to contextualize, to situate Black experience in a larger, global, and comprehensive world. And for that, I am incredibly proud that the AAAD Studies Center is in the College of Arts and Letters. We are avid supporters of AAAD. We wish for their success because their success is our success. I've been very moved by the stories that I've heard from students today and of course, over the years, that AAAD has been in existence. And I anticipate nothing but a bright and optimistic future for the center. So again, thank you very much for inviting me here today. Thank you so much for the leaders of the AAAD Center, the faculty, all those who participate in it. It's a great and glorious thing for JMU and for the world.
The launch of the AAAD Studies Center at JMU is critical because it shows that we are putting this physically at the heart of our university and intellectually at the heart of our academic space. This is something that shows future students, especially Black students, that our values of social justice are ones we live into, ones that we carry out every day. And it gives them the opportunity to learn from scholars across disciplines in a way that truly matters and gives them that language to do better work in the world.
Its impacts are limitless. With support from the JMU community, the center is poised to enhance scholarship, teaching, and outreach across all disciplines at JMU, to build and enhance unity and connection across campus and local communities and throughout the world.
The launch of JMU's AAAD Studies Center, I believe, will serve a crucial role in representing more of that margin and representing those who feel often too left out at this PWI institution, where stories will be highlighted and brought to the center of attention. And I think this will serve a crucial role in just people feeling more belonged, represented, and a sense of home. I think this type of stories that we may highlight will give people this sense of, I can do this too, and I can be a great leader. And seeing yourselves on museums or exhibitions really allows you to internalize that, like that I too can be at this level. And for our minority students here at JMU, I think this will serve a crucial role in just more representation, education, and just being able to be inspired.
Having a physical location for students who are either in AAAD or have heard about it and want to learn more is so much more validating and sort of solidified than having to bounce back and forth from professor to professor. I think it also helps to represent AAAD as a variety of disciplines. It's not just a history thing. It's not just something for students interested in literature. It's not a minor that's just for students who want to learn more about Black studies or African studies. It's a place where you can do all of that at once, and it would be an excellent center for resources for students who maybe want to meet more AAAD minors. And for the yearly conference that AAAD gets to do at JMU, I think it's a great thing to have for community meetings, for any kind of gatherings that AAAD might want to put on. And it's also excellent for the promotion of the minor to make sure that students on campus don't go through a 4-year degree or stay there for 5 years or longer and say, oh, you know, I never heard of that. I didn't know we offered it.
I feel the space is important on campus because it will provide for students and alum a wealth of knowledge and history about the African and African American culture. It is also a space that I hope in the future, as the Black Alumni Chapter gathers its history over 30 years, as we're celebrating this year, our 30th year. But as we're going through our history, we're finding that our history is kind of scattered. So we're hoping that we're able to house our history and our impact at the Study Center as well, so that future alums, especially Black alums, will know that how long we've been on campus and what is our impact.
No, it's a center that is no longer going to count the number of students in the minor, and that used to be the case, but rather a center that actually is a recognition of the impact and the far-reaching connection that our faculty members in this particular field bring to JMU. The building that AAAD has been offered as office space is on the street level, so students can actually walk in there, have communication with the co-directors. It allows us actually to also bring in international participants, which Dr. Mohinja's Africana conference already does. So this is something that is really going to situate us, given the energy of the co-directors, this is going to situate us right central to the academic thinking of the institution.
I can see the AAAD Study Center at JMU giving Black students another space on campus to feel at home, and in turn giving students of all races the opportunity to have these critical conversations and advocate for minorities on campus. It's the kind of space where we can foster innovation, foster interdisciplinary learning, and grow with one another, not just as individuals, but as a collective scholarly community.
The new AAAD Study Center at JMU will be incredibly impactful because that impact is in the name. We're physically centering African, African American, and diaspora studies on our campus. This is a powerful reminder that Black histories, Black legacy, it's more than folklore. It's more than stories. It has a profound physical impact on our lives, one that we can see, that we can feel, one that touches us. This center will serve as a beacon for so many in our community, as a reminder that they have refuge to learn about histories long denied. And so I am so excited that we are finally taking this step to center the Black folks and Black histories, the Black studies that have helped build our Bluestone campus.
Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the chasing rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat and a weary feet, come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, still we stand landless, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. Hearing is God of our silent tears, Thou who has brought us thus far on the way, Thou who has died thy might, let us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Bless our feet, stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Bless our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Godfrey, co-director of the African American, and Diaspora Studies Center. Before we close today with some final words from one of our students, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who came to celebrate this historic occasion with us today. Thank you to President Alger, Provost Coltman, Associate Provost Usa Ansa, Dean Aguirre, Mayor Reed, for sharing your words with us on this occasion. And thank you to the Board of Visitors, the President's Office, the Provost's Office, Academic Affairs, University Advancement, the Office of Research and Scholarship, the Office of Access and Inclusion, and of course, the College of Arts and Letters, for everything they've done to make our center, our space, and this day a reality. We are ever grateful to our campus and community partners, including our partners in the Northeast neighborhood, the Old School Alumni Group, and the Black Alumni Chapter, our partners and sisters in session, Furious Flower, CMIS, and LAC-C, our partners at the Cohen Center, JMU Libraries, CFI, Civic Engagement, and the Institute for Creative Inquiry, our partnering departments and colleges all across campus, and our new partners, Akwesi Aidu, Paula Bowens, Bettina Mason, Lisa Moore, Deborah Whaley, and Rashawn Ashanti Young, who have joined former AAAD faculty members Lamont King and Jacqueline Walker on our center's growing advisory board. We are especially grateful to the staff in University Advancement and University Communications and Marketing, who gave enormously of their time and guidance as we embarked on this new adventure this year. To Kim Moubre and Angela Carter for their incredible administrative support, and to our graduate assistants and undergraduate interns, Arden Tennyson, Megan Medeiros, Matthias Saboba, Nelson Girinshuti, Joel Donko, Sydney Moon, and Adana Colgrove, who worked so tirelessly with us to make this day a success. Finally, thank you to my accomplice and co-director, Bessie Muhanja, for her vision, passion, and boundless energy. Thank you to our program's original founders, Jacqueline Walker and David Usaansa, and our longtime leaders and lights, Joanne Gabin, Lamont King, and Aderonke Adesanya, on whose shoulders we stand. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our faculty. And thank you most of all to our students. Thank you all for believing in this work, and thank you for committing your emotional and intellectual energy to building, growing, and sustaining the many programs, projects, and initiatives that now have their home in the new African, African American, and Diaspora Studies Center. Thank you all.
The AAAD Center for me has been a calibrating force during my college experience. As a student involved across campus in institutional change, as well as the classroom, I really needed something to lean on. And the center, not only through its materials and courses, but also its faculty and student development, have allowed me to grow and empower others through new knowledge and skill sets, not only around topics that engage diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also around history and group dynamics, things that are central to our human experience, but we're finally looking at them through a new lens. And that's what empowered me the most. That new lens was one that I could relate to, one that I could better understand, and one that magnified and supported my needs and experiences. As we continue to try and diversify our university, the AAAD Center is vital to making sure that we're doing it authentically and genuinely, supporting students like myself, who may be incredibly busy or new to campus. We're telling our new students that you have a home on this campus in every single regard, from the classroom to your organizations to your personal goals. The AAAD Center covers all of that and more, and your support makes that possible for students like myself. We're entering a monumental moment in the landscape of higher education. The AAAD Center and its studies allow us as a university to be at the forefront of this change. Your commitment and your support to this change is reflective of our motto as a university, as we're actively changing the world we seek. You're showing students like myself that our place on this campus is not only important culturally, but academically. As we investigate and evaluate our histories and put ourselves in positions to actively move things forward. Your support for the center, its scholarships, its faculty, and students allow JMU to shine a light as a beacon across the Commonwealth and the country as we do our part to engage our students with diverse topics and materials. But most importantly, this is what Dukes do. Your commitment to the AAAD Center is you holding the door open for someone to be more enlightened, empowered, and of course, scholarly, as we continue to serve our ultimate goal of educating one another and making this world a better place. That is what your support for the AAAD Center is doing.